All right, y'all. You know how Steppin with Marcus J is live. We back in the building. We are ready to have a fabulous show for y'all here this week. We got a abbreviated crew, but we're going to get it in. We're going to talk about what's going on in New York City with the killings of the New York City police departments. We got a TV show that is causing an uproar in reality television. We got SY with holiday music trivia, and we got the dating pool diva in the building for the Diva Diaries. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J is right now.
It's about that time. It's about that time to get
Button your lip, open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
If they lying, then they must be half stepping. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J is live. We're back in the building for another hot show. Be down with us tonight at 804-402-2893. Be part of the flagship show, Legacy Internet Radio. We appreciate everybody that's listening to us tonight. Thank y'all to everybody that's listening to us live on TuneIn. Thank you to everybody that is listening to us, that has checked into the Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J fan page, the Legacy Internet Radio fan page. And thank you to everybody that has hit our new and improved brand new website. We thank you for your support. A special thank you to everybody that's listening to the replays right now on YouTube. We're getting a lot of love there here lately, so we appreciate that. If you want to call us and be a part of the discussion tonight, the number to call is 804-402-2893. As we do every single week, we go around the room and we bring in our guests and everybody that is checking in with us so that we can have it officially set up. And so we got a trio in the room with us tonight, and the first to be introduced is the dating pool diva, who joins us on the fourth Monday of every single month and leads us in the Diva Diaries. What's up, Diva?
Hey, I'm the cutest of the trio.
Okay. If that's how you rolling with it, okay, cool. I'm glad you feel like
you know it. I know it. Everybody knows it.
Well, the dude in my mirror wouldn't agree with that, but hey, that's what you think. Then go for it. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and
you
yourself?
Doing good? I'm doing pretty good. I can't call it. I'm glad to see you across the table, and looking forward to having a very, very spirited and fun discussion here tonight on the show. You ready to rock and roll?
Yep, Diva Diaries.
Diva Diaries it is. And, of course, sitting across the table from us, as from me, of course, you hear him from time to time. He's my brother. He's my partner. He's my friend. Y'all know him as Big Rube. Yo! His name is Big Rube. Yo! What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just chilling.
It's good to see you over there. How you doing?
Man. Everything's beautiful.
Everything is beautiful? Ain't nothing ugly?
I mean, there are some ugly things, but why go into that?
Why not?
I don't want to bore people.
Since we live in a world that's, feeding and off of negativity and loving negativity, why not talk about the ugly?
I'm all right.
You in a good mood?
Everything's good. Can't complain.
Damn, I was trying to get you pissed off. Damn, okay.
No, not yet.
I'm pretty sure before the end of the night, I'll figure out some sort of way to get you riled up. Think it's
We'll
possible?
see what's up.
We'll see what's up. All right. Well, if you want to get Big Rube riled up, hit us up in social media on our fan pages, on the Ain't No Half Step on Marcus J page, as well as on the Legacy Internet Radio page at 804-402-2893 is the number to call if you want to get in on it. Of course, we're getting some love from our sister who hasn't checked in a while, and it's good to see her. We got our sister Joy is checking in social media. Everybody say what's up to our sister Joy. What's
Hey,
up,
Joy.
girl?
What's up?
We appreciate you listening in. A lot to get into tonight, so we're not going to waste any time with the Diva, and Big Rube and I are going to get right into what happened in New York over the weekend. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of set it up and then just kind of allow the discussion to kind of go where it ends up going. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial to be a part of the discussion. But as we all know, unless you've been living under a rock now, on Saturday afternoon, 2 uniformed NYPD officers were shot dead Saturday as they sat in a marked car in Brooklyn. And what the investigators are saying is one man's assassination-style mission to avenge the police killings of Eric Garner in New York and Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. Police Commissioner William Bratton said no warnings, no provocations. They were quite simply assassinated, targeted for their uniforms. End quote. Officers Wenjin Liu and Rafael Ramos were working overtime as part of an anti-terrorism drill in Bed-Stuy just before 3 p.m. when they were shot point blank in the head by lone gunman Ishmael Brinsley, 28 years old, whose last known address was in Georgia. There were reports that Mr. Brinsley had just come from Maryland, where he attempted to kill his, his estranged girlfriend. He boarded a bus and found himself in New York City. He had recently posted in social media, most notably to Instagram, saying that he was looking to take out cops, basically saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, they took one of ours, now we take 2 of theirs. And there's also reports that he had mentioned to people on the street right there in the area where he was, that, they need to pay attention to what's getting ready to go on. So a lot going on. Officer Liu, who appears to be of Asian descent, was a newlywed, only been married 2 months. He had 7 years on the force. Officer Ramos, 40 years old, he was a dad of 2 sons who had 2 years on the job. Now, Brinsley, as I mentioned, he was suspected of, shooting his ex-girlfriend. And he, of course, took the coward's way out after already being a coward and shooting unsuspecting, unarmed, well, obviously armed, but unsuspecting men who never saw him coming. Was a coward for doing that, and then he took the punk's way out and he killed himself after having done that. So there's more to the story. There's certainly some angles that I want to get into, which we'll kind of get into as we progress in the discussion. Rube, I want you up first on this one. When you heard the story, kind of tell me what your immediate thoughts was. Let's kind of round table this here with the Diva.
I mean, you really, you pretty much hit it on the nail. First of all, I mean, you came from behind and shot him, punk move. Then you killed yourself, punk move. I mean, there's a place downstairs for you. I mean, it's just, I am a big proponent of just not killing people, and I understand, a lot of people will be like, well, they just killed a bunch of us last, couple weeks, couple years, couple decades, whatever. But I mean, this is not the right way to do it. And then, if you really want to send a message, why would you kill yourself? I mean, that's not sending a message. That's being a punk. And it's sad, man, because some people are going to take this like, yeah, he got back at them. And then some people are going to be like, why did he do that, blah, blah. Well, in reality is, none of any of this should have happened. Not, him killing them, the cops killing the other black people. I mean, none of it should have happened. But it at least, the other thing is, the cops may have killed black people, but they didn't kill themselves. This dude just was like, well, I know I can't win, so I'm gonna do something. Then I'm gonna go out, and it's just like, really,
Right.
All you did was, I mean, you're not even a martyr. You're just an idiot with a gun.
David, what's your thoughts when you heard about this?
Well, my thoughts were kind of along the lines of what Ruben just said. It's just stupid. It makes no sense. There's no real connection other than they were cops. You know, it's not like they were the cops that murdered the black people. You know what I'm saying? They murdered someone innocent, two
Right.
people that were innocent. And I don't see him as a martyr. I don't see him as a hero. And I've always been anti-violence. So if you want to fix the problem, violence to me is not the answer. It is the problem. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, this is one of those situations where I think we're all kind of agreeing with each other. Joy is saying it's very sad because unarmed teens were killed doesn't make it right. It's scary. Not all police officers are bad. Some police officers do protect and serve, which I 100% agree with. When I first heard this story break, you know, I had gotten some folks who were reaching out, you know, to me, knowing that we do a show, so they were looking to get, you know, I guess what my opinion of this is, which was humbling to me. Like, somebody actually cares about what I think about it. But what I actually said was, you know, that I am equally outraged by the fact that two police officers who are unarmed sitting in a car are killed. And my direct quote that I put out on Saturday at 8:28 was, I am as outraged by the killings of the two police officers in New York City by a civilian as I am outraged by the killings of unarmed civilians by police. Our culture of accepting violence does nothing but produce widows and orphans. That's a direct quote from yours truly in the immediate aftermath of the shootings of those police officers. Now, you got people who are suggesting that there are many people to blame here, Diva. The police officers are blaming the mayor because they don't feel he had come out strong enough to support them. We know that his wife is black and his son is half black and half white, and he talked about, in the aftermath of the Everett Garner indictment, he talked about the conversations that he had with his son and preparing him for the inevitable interactions with the police officers. The same conversations that my guess is any black man has had if he had a reputable person raising him. I know I got those conversations. And so they were mad at the mayor for that. There's video of the mayor walking to the hospital to see the deceased officers and the police officers turning their backs on him. So they're blaming him. They're blaming the protesters for being out there and I guess setting a climate for the upset that would lead someone to do something like this. And then, of course, inevitably, you have the race baiters who like to call this next guy a race baiter, and that's Reverend Al Sharpton, which, you know, you can say what you want about Al Sharpton. My opinion of him is well documented. I don't feel like the need to get into it now, but you know, you have a guy who basically comes to the defense of the deceased and Eric Garner and supports him and supports his family and speaks of the need for police, but also the need to change the system. And now all of a sudden he's the one that's at fault for this, just like the mayor and the protesters. So when we talk about the blame game, which we know that we're getting a lot of that, tell me your thoughts on that. Who is to blame for the deaths of Officer Lou and Officer Ramos?
That individual. And I mean, you just said it earlier that he was trying to kill his ex-girlfriend.
He shot his
so
ex-girlfriend.
already
yeah.
he was irrational. Okay, that was just something added on his slew of list of things to do to kill somebody else.
Right. What do you think, Roop? You think the mayor, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and the protesters created a climate that would lead someone to go and do something as heinous as kill two unsuspecting police officers sitting in their cars?
I mean, you can sit here and assume everything has something to do with it, but when it's all said and done, one person did this, and that's who you blame. You don't blame anybody else. You don't blame the environment around you. And, you know, we can go ahead and say, well, he's got a history of you know, messing with people and stuff like that. So we can go there if we want. But really, this dude's the only one to blame. Don't blame anybody else. Now, if you want to say that other people make it worse, then that's a fair assessment, and you can say that, you know. But the police blaming anybody other than this shooter who did it, I mean, they're just as bad as everybody else blaming everybody else. Look, this dude did it. This dude came up, shot 2 cops, and then shot himself. You know, regardless of what happened, he pulled the trigger, and that's what did it. Nothing else, and stop trying to put it off for everything else. Because in real terms, if you really want to go back to whose fault all this, you know, you could do that. I'm not saying that's fair, but you know, this all started when black people started getting killed by white cops, whether it's necessarily or unnecessarily, however you want to do it. That's when all this started. And that's, if you want to sit here and say, well, you know, who's to blame, and you start making that timeline, you know, some people when you look in the mirror, you see that cop who killed that kid in Ferguson. You see that cop who choked the dude out. You know, you see a whole bunch of other stuff. But when it's all down to it, it is all about the person who did the deed, and it's the dude who shot the 2 cops and then turned the gun on himself like a coward. There you go.
I think indirectly the media is partially to blame for riling up things, because I mean, this has been a problem in this country like forever. I mean, I know since I've been born and before, with police brutality, police killing innocent people. So this is not a new issue, but it has become a new issue to people because the media has riled everybody up and got everybody on board to fight. And I think that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because we have consequences like this.
Right. I guess my response to that is, you know, while I would in spirit tend to agree with you, I think where we'll take diverging paths is the media is just going to chase the story.
Right.
But the conscious thinker is the one that is going to look and see and say, you know what? Yeah, the police sometimes does wild out and they take out people of other cultures. But I don't know of any other culture that can say that they get taken out in the numbers that we have.
Right.
And I think, you know, when we see, you know, when we have these debates with people who are not of our opinion, you know, you find yourself beating your head against the wall because it's like, y'all don't see this. Like you really don't see this. And they really don't. And, you know, it's kind of scary because it's like people are dying in the street and you're trying to figure out a way to blame the victim. You know what I mean? And we can't even get a jury to step up and say, you know what, a grand jury to step up and say, you know what, we've only listened to half of the evidence. Let's go ahead and indict and get a real jury in here that can listen to it all. You mean to tell me that you can't find no probable cause when you got it on video to show that this man got choked out with his hands up by the police? Like, they didn't do nothing wrong. Nothing. You know, what about the dude that was in the hallway that got shot by the cop that was nervous because he was a rookie? You know what I mean? You know, what about the dude in Milwaukee, the story's coming out, where he took 14 shots. He was mentally disturbed, took 14 shots. That cop got fired, but he's not facing any charges. You know, so you can give story after story after story after story, and you still find yourself debating with people. And I got a sister who gets it, and I want y'all to hear her, and we're going to talk about her comments. Tell us, sister, tell us why you get it.
My whole thing is we got to take back our communities. This can't happen. If you mad at somebody, be mad at the person that you're mad at. Now, we have 2 families that's missing somebody for the holidays. Regardless of what, where's your humanity? Like, I know it's a war going on, and shout out to Evergon and the family and everybody else who lost somebody, but you're not at his house or his lawn. This is 2. You don't even know if they were good or bad. I don't condone this, and I'm not with it. I'm not with it.
I mean, add this on to all the detention that's going on right now.
We have to take back our communities. It's up to us. We have to stop this, and that's why we're in the streets now. We have to stop this. The only people that can take care of communities is us, and that's in every community. That's why we have community boards and all of that. The people need to go to these meetings, talk to these housing, go to the mayor. The mayor listens. Talk to they just met with the mayor yesterday with demands, and now we have to deal with this. At the end of the day, 2 families is missing somebody for the holidays, and it's wrong.
It's absolutely wrong. I agree with her. It's absolutely wrong. However, here's the one thing that I wanted to bring up on the heels of her comments. When you have this lone gunman, Rube, who we know he was disturbed. He had, depending on what news outlet you look at least 19 arrests in the last few years, you know, most of which were in Ohio and a bunch in Georgia, you know, weapons charges, attacks on women. I mean, this was a bad guy. He was just a bad person. But you got a dude who has very, very loose ties to the area, who shoots his girlfriend, and in his mind, he probably thinks he killed her. He didn't, but he probably thought he did. He gets on a bus, he goes to New York, and he randomly shoots 2 cops, killing them. An Asian and a Hispanic, by the way. Let's not forget that. Let us not have that point be lost upon us. And now we're supposed to forget about everything that happened before that. So the mayor comes out today and says that there won't be any protests until after the funerals. I don't think you get to make that decision, Mr. Mayor, first of all. It's in the Constitution that says that they have the right to be out there. But what's your thoughts, man? She says you got to take back your community. You have some that says that you shouldn't be out there protesting while we mourn the deaths of these 2 officers. And I saw Eric Garner's daughter at a memorial for those 2 officers today. I got some mixed feelings about that, which I'll share in a minute. What's your thoughts?
She was clearly correct. I mean, because the police are there to help, usually. They're there to help and things as such, help control situations that we cannot control. However, what they say back in the day, when you're growing up, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes community to get everything else back together. Because when it's all said and done, yes, these two officers are now families are missing 2 men. But when it's all said and done, it comes back to that community, and it affects them just as much as it affects those 2 families. Because now, you might be looking at some people who want to get back or some craziness like that. I mean, they're not going to come out and say, we don't come down and just lock down Bed-Stuy, yada, yada, yada. But, it's possible. You always got 1 or 2 people who are just crazy like that. Take things to the extreme. As far as what the mayor's saying, there'd be no protests. You're right. He doesn't have the right to say that. And as long as the protests are peaceful, there should never be any issues. Now, violent protests, yes, then you call who you need to call. But if it's a peaceful protest, I don't understand the situation of the mayor saying we can't have a peaceful protest. Because you're right. It's a constitutional right for us to protest.
I think that was an attempt by the mayor to gain a little bit more favor with the police, to see how they were utterly disrespectful towards him, and in their minds justifiably so, because they feel as though he's not friendly to them with regards to his policies. I think by him saying that was a way to placate them. But again, you don't get to make that decision, Mr. Mayor. You don't get to tell us that we can't protest. Like, what the hell was that? I was offended by that. I'll be honest with you. I was offended by that. As far as seeing Eric Garner's daughter at the memorial, I have very, very, very mixed feelings about that. Because on the one side of me, I'm like, you know what? It's a show of solidarity when you have the daughter of a victim who understands that not all police are bad. Not all police are bad. The vast majority of police are good, upstanding citizens.
Correct.
Who protect and serve and do their job.
It's at 10%. If it's
I won't get into the numbers because we don't know. But
correct.
But I understand your point, and your point is well taken. I've gone on record as saying in my younger years, I dealt with some asshole cops. I dealt with some asshole cops. But in my older years, for the most part, every officer that I personally, Marcus J, has come across has been respectful and has been professional and treated me in an appropriate manner. That's just me. But I'm not blind and I'm not naive to see that it's a system in place that allows them to act in a way that is not appropriate towards certain people, especially when other people in other communities do not have these same stories.
Correct.
They just don't. And so while part of me understands the sign of solidarity that Erica, I believe her name is, Garner, took by going to the memorial, Diva, the thought of her, and I'm sure someone put it in her ear, you need to go out there. And you know, I don't know the woman, so I'm not going to assume, but my guess is someone said you need to go out there. You making the victim go out and celebrate when you're looking at communities, black communities, you know, being the ones that are primarily affected versus the police being the primary offenders, and you're making her go and you're showing this as a big deal for her to go out there and say, you know what, I'm out here. I'm so conflicted on that, and I need someone to help me rationalize these feelings that I have.
It sounds like a peace offering, sort of. Like, you're probably right. It probably was someone to encourage her to go and show support so that maybe there'll be some kind of sympathy on her end. You know what I'm saying? Like, one hand washes the other, that theory. I think that was where the thought was coming. You go support the officers that, you know, were murdered, and maybe something will happen to assist with your father and his murder.
I suppose it's possible. You know, I am a little bit nervous about that. I don't know. I mean, especially, you know, it's funny, Rube, last week, I'd say probably early in the day on Saturday, before we got wind of these murders, these heinous murders committed by a lone deranged gunman that has nothing to do with the people out there protesting. Let's make that point. But I saw a photograph of police officers who were having their own protest. I believe it was either Thursday or Friday. They were out in the streets in New York City wearing T-shirts that say, I can breathe. These are police officers. I'm showing the studio folks here, Big Rube in the Dating Pool Diva. I'm showing y'all the picture. This is a day or 2 days before those officers were killed. Now, no one deserves to be murdered. They just don't. Eric Garner didn't deserve it, and officers Lewin and Ramos did not deserve to be murdered. But when you mock the death of someone in a way like this, when you know that the protesters are out there and they have used the phrase, I can't breathe, as their rallying cry, because we know those were the last words of Eric Garner, and then you see this,
it's disrespectful.
You can hear me how I'm setting it up, how I feel about it. David, what do you think?
Very disrespectful, and the way they're taking the picture, like real snide, like, you know,
smiling,
just smiling. You know, I just don't. I don't know what to say. I mean, my first initial thought, I couldn't even put on Facebook because then they'd be coming after me. But that's just, I don't know. What do you think, Ruben?
I think it's very important to describe the gentlemen who have the shirts on that picture, and the reason why I say that is because, you know, they're older white gentlemen.
They appear to be
probably
middle-aged white men,
probably 50, 60. You know, probably set in their ways, probably just ignorant to the growth of the current. You know, and it's a situation where I really feel like, you know, and I don't want to generalize all old white men, because I don't want to do that. However, you know, there is a section, whereas I think Chris Rock said at one time, the most racist person on the planet is an old black man. The same thing with old white man, for somewhat old white men, because they don't want to change and they don't want to progress. They want to stay the way it was when they were 22 and they got into the police force and things as such. And I think that's what you see there. You see some gentlemen who really have not caught up to 2014. And to me, you know, it's extremely extremely offensive on the fact of, one, it's extreme to the person who passed away. Two, I mean, really, are you basically celebrating the cop who did it? Because to me, that's a celebration of that person who killed Eric Garner. Yes, yeah, he's a hero, and he did what he was supposed to do. And to me, that's what that says. We support that policeman, whether that policeman feels bad or good or whatever, you know. But I think it's very important to know that those are not young men wearing that shirt.
Right.
And it's just, I mean, honestly, it's just true. The older we get, the more we become stuck in our own values and principles that we were brought up when we were younger.
Right. There's
some things I don't like now that I think are stupid, but, you know, people 20 years younger than me think it's the greatest thing ever.
Right.
You know, and I think it's fair. I think it's fair to say that and to let the listeners know, hey, look, this ain't just a whole bunch of white people doing this. These are 3 old, probably retired police officers who feel this way because back in the day, they felt that they can do what they need to do what they need to do.
Right.
And unfortunately, that is not the case at this point. And to me, that's extremely disrespectful, number one. And to me, you're celebrating someone who took a life unnecessarily.
Right.
I mean, what does that say to you and to the people, the children that you raised or your families and things as such? That's a horrible misrepresentation. Unless that family feels that way, that's a horrible misrepresentation of the family. And I would be very shocked if they didn't get any type of negative feedback from home, especially if they have daughters.
Right. I'm getting some hits in social media. G is listening to us. G been listening to us a lot the last few weeks, and we appreciate that. We appreciate you listening to us. She says that it's disrespectful to the families and neighborhoods that these police come from if they're protests. And about the Can't Breathe shirts, they're a bunch of not nice words, but are you sure they're police? They have a sign saying they're supporting police, not that they are police. Very, very valid point. I think Big Root was somewhat alluding to that in his point. You make a valid point that we do not know for sure if they are police officers, but I do disagree with you, G, when you say that it's disrespectful to the police, because it's been disrespectful to our community forever for it to continue to go on, and we see there be no indictments. We see there in many cases to be no sort of punishment at all. You have a lone crazed gunman who said that he did this in honor of Eric Garner and Mike Brown, but he don't represent nobody but himself. And so for this one person to be the reason that a movement was started and should continue, I think would not be the way to go. We're looking for a movement and not a moment. And I think if it stopped, this would be a moment. Joy is saying that she said it was disrespectful to see the shirts. She says she felt some kind of way about it, and she says that G is clarifying her point, saying not to the police but to the family and friends. And I understand where you're going. I still stand by what I said on that point there. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. Anybody wants to call in to get in on the discussion, feel free. 804-402-2893. We're getting a lot of love of folks who are looking at this photograph. I asked a simple question: anyone else find this offensive, or am I just being sensitive? Let's see. Phil says he does. Melinda does. Tiffany does. Kim does. Dana does. Joe does. Let's see. Latoya says very offensive. Charlia says she finds it offensive. Mike said it pissed him off. Chandra said, she was mad when she read it and she dropped the F-bomb on the jerks. Mike has a lengthy comment here, and I'll kind of paraphrase it. He's basically saying things like this don't do anything but widen the divide. He's all for peaceful protests and demonstrations, but not when it's mocking a person's death, regardless of how controversial the matter. It's not like the police officer was indicted, so not only are they not content with the, quote, win, but these people, not my word, not his word, I should say. These people want to demean the very idea that the incident was ever questioned. They are intent on disrespecting the very thought that thousands of people would sympathize with this man's death and the circumstances under which it occurred. He finds it enraging, and when they're talking about consistent and routine documented loss of unarmed citizens of all races by sworn law enforcement, sans consequences, life is precious and should be cherished, not to deride, taunt, or tease. Very, very, very good point there, Mike. I agree with you. Francis says she just can't believe it. Christy says it's very offensive, and Madrika says that it's extremely offensive. Diva, we got a lot of comments in there, a lot to kind of soak up. Jump in, get in where you fit in.
Well, I definitely believe that it was supposed to be offensive. My question is, I don't know much more about this story beyond the picture. Is there anything else, any other information that these men
Well, G makes a good point when she says that we don't know for a fact that they're police officers. I made the assumption that they were, wrongly so I will stand corrected on that. But they very clearly support the police officers, particularly the ones who killed Eric Garner, because we know the rallying cry for the protesters was, I can't breathe, we can't breathe. So for them to be wearing a shirt that says that I can breathe, as far as I know, they were not interviewed. As far as I know, that mean they weren't. But I do know that they had their own rally in support of the police department just days before the murders of those two officers on Saturday. And this was one of the photos that came from that protest. So that's what we're dealing with. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. live from the den. Legacy Internet Radio, 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. If you want to be a part of the discussion tonight, I want to thank everybody that's listening to us on TuneIn. We appreciate that. If you hit us up on our new and improved website on legacyinternetradio.com at any point, we appreciate you doing that. I also want to say thank you to those folks that are listening to the sound of our voices right now on our replays on YouTube. We appreciate it. It's because of you guys listening to us every week. It's the reason why we continue to do this show. And if you're listening right now, tell somebody that you're listening to us so that they can listen to us as well. Have Steppin with Marcus J.